I know. I guess for my own personal understanding in regards to transportation, I know we're licensing a processor and we're licensing a grower. Who is responsible for transporting the product from the grower to the processor?
Well, right now in the bill, they've got joint responsibility if something happens between the farm and the processor.
Okay.
If and that's
So that's what the joint and
and,
several
and,
liability
I think that's going to be in
refers to.
around lines 204 through 211 somewhere over
So,
there. I
so the
think.
joint and several liability provision is in regards to the transportation of the product under your bill. I'm just
Yes,
Okay.
there and also if the crop has to be destroyed,
okay.
also.
um, okay. I think in just to throw out there, I know other states have licensed transporters as well, which is not. I'm not saying that we have to do that, but I think it's a point of conversation. Maybe we look at that, and that might address some of the liability concerns that there may be under the joint and several liability clause.
Okay.
The other provision, which I thought was interesting, on line 246, it says that the department shall contract with entities that have at least 20 years of experience of certain entities. I just wanted to throw that out there that maybe we need to look at that, and that way, look, I'm a free market guy, and I just want to make sure that whatever we do, or whatever we
not
pass,
limiting. So
that we're not. That I understand having some constraints because of the topic of discussion, but I think that we need to make sure that we're not being too constrained on who we're given an opportunity to be able to be a producer or a person who may want to invest in this product. And that goes back to the conversation about the 12 producers.
right.
In regards to farmers and those that are producing, and it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, under your bill, if you are a farmer, you can only contract with one processor, correct?
I believe, is that correct, Paul? Originally that's the way it was, but I don't think the new language. That's still correct. Okay.
So if I am as a peanut farmer, I can contract with 4 or 5 different peanut buying points if I wanted to. So if I understand it right, under this, I would be limited if I wanted to grow hemp. And I would be limited to contracting with a single processor.
And the logic behind that, or what we're trying to get as many farmers involved as possible. But we can have that conversation offline if that's
okay. Yeah. We definitely
able
can.
to do that.
I think that the other thing that I was curious about is you can only contract. So as a producer, I could only contract with a processor that has a license in Georgia. I could not contract with a processor that may be established in another state.
No, I think we changed that. If you go back to lines 8, I think that's what 87 through 91. A permit to process hemp. And it might not read that way, but that was
Okay.
in
Well, we can
for them to be able to.
So I can
outside the state.
Okay. So I could contract with a processor that does not have a
physical location here. That's the intent. We clear that up.
I can contract with another entity if I wanted to. Okay. I think the other thing, one other thing I think and I may be misreading it wrong, and this may be where we get with legislative counsel, But if I read the way, so we're redefining marijuana, obviously, under the code.
That's correct. Removing industrial hemp from the definition
right.
of marijuana.
So it's the way it's defined. Are we removing only industrial hemp that is produced in Georgia, or are we removing industrial hemp, period?
I refer to legal counsel.
Because if we're only removing industrial hemp that is produced in Georgia, then if a processor was established in Georgia and brought in hemp from another state to process in our state, then that could possibly, arguably, be construed under our code as marijuana if it was brought in. You get where I'm going.
Exactly.
And we can continue these conversations. Obviously,
to that point, I think when we allow hemp that's grown in other states to come here, I think we need to hold it to the same standards as Georgia. There's other states that allow up to higher percentages of THC, 0.339 or whatever. I think we need to hold it to our same standards that we hold in our farmers too.
Held to the standard that we set in Georgia.
Right.
Obviously, if we're going to bring any in, but I just wanted to make sure that's something that we look at. Mr. Chairman, at this time, that's basically all the questions that I have, and I'll look forward to continuing the conversation with the author of the bill and maybe trying to find a way to affect his legislation, as we often do House bills in the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, can I one more comment before I forget about it? And Dr. Moore's comment about clearing up the research, being able to do that under this bill, and I've worked with Ledge Council, and we've got got wording to clear that up. We're working on that, so it'll be clear that once we sign the bill, the research can start.
I really appreciate Chairman Harper and the questions he brought up and these issues.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I think we did too good a job training him in FFA.
Well,
has anybody else got any questions, Senator Heath?
Maybe I've got a simple question. It may be for the lawyer. I don't remember your name, but can you tell me what the difference between marijuana and hemp is?
Sure, they're plants from the same genus, but they are bred differently, and the fundamental difference is the level of THC. I try to pronounce what that stands for, but I would betray my Kentucky education. But the fundamental difference between the two crops is the level of THC, and because of that difference, they're bred differently. The seeds are different. They're grown in different ways, and they're obviously used for different purposes.
Well,
go ahead, Senator.
So if I walked in here with a plant, could you tell me that it's THC or marijuana?
Well, I probably could, because I've been studying this issue. But if your question is, could the average person? No, and so that is why the licensing requirements are so important. You want to be sure that when hemp is grown, that it's grown in a program that is approved by the Georgia Department of Agriculture. That they give their GPS coordinates, and so if there's a drug eradication helicopter flying over, they'll be able to look down and say, okay, we've seen in our computer, that's hemp, that's not marijuana. And if somebody's transporting it across the state, if a cop comes and pulls over their car, they're going to have their license information to say, here's where our hemp is grown, and here's where it's registered with the state. And so that's why it's so important to build in these structures that Representative Corbett's bill does.
Okay, anyone else? Senator Sims?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This goes to Dr. Moore from UGA, please. Dr. Moore, you said that you would like to, for the language to provide immediate research, provide you guys to be able to do this immediately. Yes. All right.
Before USDA approves.
My question is, will UGA have exclusive rights to research in the state, or are there other institutions that are being considered?
Land grant institutions, so we work with Fort Valley as well, and so it wouldn't necessarily be limited to just UGA. but it would be a land grant.
So you know that Fort Valley is my school then, right? So you know that was my next question. So we
Yes,
want to be
yes, ma'am.
included.
I was down in Fort Valley on Friday and we had a discussion. So.
Very well, and I will be on the. Okay, I just, looking out for my school. Yes. But that was it. I wanted to know that. So they do know that they're going to have to. They will be a part of the research,
Yes.
the hemp research. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Senator Karencheck.
First, I wanted to commend Chairman Harper. He took all my questions, which was that was very good, very good. So, I still have a few, but he covered a bunch of them, which is the free market. I'm concerned about free market and the ability to cross state lines and violations of the Commerce Clause. If I may, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple questions. So when I was, my assessment of the goal here is to have a regulatory system that keeps up with the land use, but does not exceed the THC concentration of 0.3. Is it 0.3 something?
0.3%
0.3
THC.
0.30.
Yeah, 0.30,
Okay.
because that's what the language in the federal bill, and it's just 0.3%. It doesn't say 0.31, 0.35. It's,
Yes, sir.
so
And then
that's where we got to stay within that.
when I was looking at the committee report, I'm a former prosecutor of marijuana, so I'm coming from that perspective. The Georgia Sheriff's Association advised that they would need additional resources to verify the legal products from the illegal products. Is that still an issue, or are you aware?
And that will have to be appropriated in the amended budget if we start before then. Being we don't have a program, we can't appropriate money for something that don't exist yet.
Okay,
so
but
yes, we're
so
aware of it.
I apologize then. So that is something you plan on
Yeah,
taking
yes,
account
yes,
to
yes, and
when we amend a budget to be able to do this. And then the same question from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation about being able to identify and test, because they have a backup
and
of marijuana lab tests currently.
And in our subcommittee in the House, the GBI came and spoke with us, and they had a list of concerns, and we addressed all of their concerns in the bill you see in front of you. They were good. And I don't know if anybody is here today with the GBI, but they did meet with us in subcommittee, and we addressed every one of their concerns.
Thank you, sir. And then Gary Black, Commissioner Gary Black, and the program director,